Hello to those who are attending 2021 APAC HPC Summit. I'd like to express my great gratitude to GARAOTUS for such a great opportunity for me to present in this wonderful online event. My name is Paul Yuanzheng from Vista Healthcare, also known as MAHC. It's a part of most Joint Research Center for AI Technology and Vista Healthcare. It's a Taiwan government-sponsored research center at the National Taiwan University. Today, my topic is how AI is changing medical and healthcare and advanced research. This is the disclaimer of this speech. The outline of this talk is majorly consisted of three parts. The first one is to introduce key AI applications in medical and healthcare. The second one is digital response to COVID-19 using AI and new investment drivers. And the last part is some challenges and opportunities. I'll also briefly introduce our research center in the last few slides. There are numerous market research reports regarding AI in healthcare. And here I just show some examples with a few summarized points. The global smart healthcare market expect to post a size of more than $70 billion by 2027, with a CAGR of more than 50% in just 5 to 6 years. A key factor driving this growth of market is increasing demand for remote health monitoring and the rise in life expectancy over the past decade in developed regions such as North America and Western Europe, or even in Asia, that resulted in an increase in the aging population. And this effect has highly impacted due to COVID-19 pandemic. There are four major categories for AI applications in healthcare, as shown in this figure, including patient care, physician, medical imaging and diagnostics, and R&D. There are about 20 AI applications, with each category containing 4 to 5 applications. It's conceivable that the medical imaging and diagnostic is one of the most important AI applications in healthcare to aid decision-making in clinical practice and utilized to speed up diagnosis, imaging, and importantly, subsequent health care decisions. In addition, the current COVID-19 situation leads R&D to pandemic detection and vaccine development. From the industry perspective, there's a landscape for AI in healthcare. The four main categories in the landscape shown in red and representing the stakeholders in healthcare who are impacted by AI, faced by patient, faced by doctor, research, and health. Within four categories, the 16 subcategories shown in green, so the tech company most relevant to patient-specific needs, doctor workflows, researchers' methodology, and interaction between patient and doctor. In regards to products going through regulatory pathways, here's US FDA is a representative agency. According to the American College of Radiology, the Data Science Institute offers a regularly updated list of FDA clear AI algorithm for radiologists, as shown in this figure. The catalog of lists dramatically reduced time required to accomplish the formerly complex task of sorting through algorithms available to those in medical imaging. And the left figure is shown in this slide shows a number of clear AI models in each medical areas, shown in the most left column of the table, and the corresponding modality shown in the top row of this table. As you can see, the line chart shows the starting surge in number of clearances 2018 and rocketing rise in 2020. As of August 2021, this year, the regularly updated catalog has more than 130 clear models. And expect the number clear this year might not be as many as in last year, but still it's the hard area in medical AI. And here I'm going to show some product examples, show how AI enables or powers medical diagnostics using imaging, including those from the US, Israel, and Taiwan. some examples. So in US, this most products were come from, including the SDR, Apple ECG app, caption guidance, the brain vision or Visioneer. Israel company, the most famous one is Zebra Medical. As for Taiwan, there's also one product, and it's called Deep City by Deep01. It's the first AI startup in Asia Pacific to obtain FDA approval. And the IDSDR is intended to use by healthcare providers to detect the diabetic retinopathy, and it's claimed that this can detect the diabetic retinopathy without the decisions by the manually by the medical personnel. It automatically generates reports, and the right figure shows the workflow of using this software that delivers a positive or negative result. The workflow, and I can show the results in less than 1 minute. So that's powered by AI. And the Deep01 is the first AI company, as briefly mentioned, in Asia to obtain both FDA and Taiwan FDA clearance, and use AI algorithm to analyze non-contrast CT of brains and notify the specialists with suspected intracranial hemorrhage. And Visioneer has a product called vBrain, also recently received the FDA clearance, and use AI to control brain tumor and MRI images. And they train the data across the US and in Taiwan. And as briefly mentioned, the founder of this company is from Taiwan as well. As for drug development, there's already a lot of happening in the industry with AI design drugs in pipelines. In this figure, it shows the partnership with big pharma vendors will be the key to success for startups and will support turning proof of concept into potential milestone payments for new drug candidates. And somebody see the $1 billion deal, like Instritro, Gilead, Adamois, and Hemso Pharma, and also particularly companies like Scientia form partnership with multiple pharmas like Celgene, Sumitomo, Nippon, and APAC. I show the example of the partnership between Scientia and some companies, and more importantly, those AI design drug going to the clinical. This shows the collaborations of this UK-based company, and they have joined R&D on both domain knowledge in drug discovery and the AI platform. By collaborating with Nippon Sumitomo Pharma, they have 2 products going to the clinical trial in last year and this year, respectively. The treatment is about to treat the obsessive compulsive disorder and the Alzheimer's disease psychosis. Both are neurological disorder drugs. As for collaboration with the APAC, they have a first AI design molecule for immuno-oncology to enter clinical trial. And these discovered drug candidates were discovered in just less than a year, as opposed to for the conventional approaches, it may takes about 4 to 5 years. The second part of this talk is to show some examples about digital response to COVID-19, especially using AI. The current in the situation of the last year about the pandemic, here shows the map. 13 months ago, global COVID-19 cases and death were about 30 million and less than 1 million respectively in death. In Taiwan, cases death are were about 500 and less than 10 in death. But right now, it's getting worse and worse, as you can see. There's more than 240 million cases and about 5 million deaths. worldwide. And in Taiwan, it's 16,000 cases and almost 900 deaths. So the increase is about 10 to 30 times increases, and then about more than 100 times increases in death, especially in Taiwan. This due to May, the outbreak in May. So it's being thought as the most deadliest pandemic in human history. And to cope with such a difficult situation, lots of research and development actions were taken, including numerous science-based studies, not only from academics, but also, more importantly, needs to be integrated through collaborations among public and private parties, including governments, academics, industries. And lots of information need to be clear and transparent in order to win the battle against the virus. An example about COVID-19 Open Research Dataset Challenge. It's called COVID19, initiated by Allen Institute for AI in partnership with Zhang Zuckerberg Initiative, Georgetown University Centers for Security and Emerging Technology, Microsoft Research, and National Library of Medicine. It's also coordination with the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. And this database rapidly collected scientific articles through the speed of more than 400 COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 related coronaviruses articles per day. And it's been more than 200,000 papers have been collected. The challenge is trying to answer important questions like risk factors for COVID-19 and the virus, genetics, region evolution, therapeutic ways to cope with the situation like vaccines and drugs, also include some non-pharmaceutical intervention. And the following few slides will show some examples of AI application in the pandemic. And here's one paper describing the landscape of AI applications against the COVID-19. Basically, there are three scales as shown in the bottom figure, including molecular scale, from proteins to drug development, clinical scale, from diagnosis to outcome predictions, and lastly, the larger societal scale from epidemiology to infodemiology. And this paper used a lot of data sets and resources, including text data, those basically from scientific literature, including the COVID-19, as briefly mentioned previously. It's all biomedical data, including clinical and molecular data, and also case data from WHO, Johns Hopkins, CSSE, GitHub, etc. And here's one of the most recent paper published just last month in Nature Medicine. The 20 institutions from academics, hospitals, and governments around the world, including some of the groups in Taiwan from NTU, like us, and with the NIH Jianbaoshu, and also Tri-Service General Hospital. It's collaborated on the federated learning AI model by NVIDIA and Mass General Brigham to triage COVID-19 patients. And this project initiated by NVIDIA and Mass General Hospital initiated a project in summer last year. It's called EXAM project, EMR and chest X-ray AI model in order to predict oxygen needs for patients with COVID-19. And federated learning with properties of privacy-preserving techniques and enable creation of robust AI model that work well across organizations and achieve a global model with the 0.94 AUC, which is better than any local models from each participating institution, demonstrating the robustness of federated learning in this case. And that's the next one is about the research paper and showing how AI is used for COVID-19 drug discovery and vaccine development. As illustrated in the right figure, starting from how the SARS-CoV-2 virus affects host cells through the viral spike protein to the host ACE2 receptors. There are several targets, including structural and non-structural proteins, are encoded. And then the immune response causing release of important inflammatory cytokines like MCP1, IL-6, IL-8, also targets from the host cells. And through these analyze and using the sample example database, including FDA drugs, the deep learning approach applied to analyze screen data set, okay, and then extensively study the viral protease inhibitors. And then following these generators and virtual screening were done and to find out the drug candidates, including drug and vaccines. And especially this paper is not only academic parties involved, but also the industrial partners involved. And this paper is about review of using AI published in Nature Biotechnology last year, and especially on drug repositioning. Also, it's also applied in the COVID-19. Notice that only academics, but also quite a few private organizations showing red are involved in this Nature Biotech paper. And in this paper, the table on the left summarized by American Society of Health System Pharmacists, and summary repositioning proposals undergoing the clinical evaluations. Including some approval or temporary approved under UA guideline by US FDA, drugs like remdesivir or hydrochloroquine. A table on the right shows in using the data science and the AI machine learning approaches to identify biological targets for therapeutic intervention in heterogeneous disease and find suitable drug candidates and bind those targets. And the next part, especially about the paper talking about the situation in Taiwan, this was published last year in JAMA by Jason Wong of Stanford University, showing how Taiwan was responding to COVID-19 at that time. Based on the 2003 SARS experience, it established a public health response mechanism for enabling rapid reactions. And that time, the strategies relies on so-called non-pharmaceutical interventions due to lack of pharmaceutical interventions like vaccines and drugs. Combined with the digital technologies that apply the non-pharmaceutical interventions include border control, name-based rationing system for face masks, and integration of health and immigration database to track travelers with COVID-19 symptoms. Also, transparent information of TOCC, travel, occupation, contact, and cluster. The last part of this talk is about the challenges and opportunities. Although it is conceivable that to some extent that AI has come to real-life applications, and those are leaning towards to a paradigm shift for future medical and healthcare. And recent investment from these about big tech such as Google, Apple, steps that a little bit, makes it cool down a little bit, and revealing challenges in this field in the industry. And several key points, according to the CL.com, are concluded. First is the healthcare system is highly fragmented and lacks of an integral value chain, and truly relies on the collaboration and integrated care approach. And this fragmented care occurs when different healthcare providers and or health organizations do not work well together. Also, specialization, lack of shared responsibilities, caregivers a little personal contact with a colleague outside the organization also contribute to this kind of setback situation. So back into in Taiwan, we believe we have a tremendous opportunities in developing medical and healthcare AI. And starting here in Taiwan, and hope to spread out across the globe. And Taiwan's healthcare system is being world renowned, and it's been top three, in the top, actually in top for 3 consecutive years, okay, according to the healthcare index. And Taiwan's SET industries also top global ranking, including IC foundry servers, packaging, IC testing. Okay. Also, their information technology, hardware business, and communication industry business has very high volume. Okay. And more importantly, Taiwan has one of the largest single-payer system, giving medical data from National Health Insurance Database (NHI) as the great treasure and resources for medical and healthcare applications, just like the crude oil for energy and many other supplies. And using these NHIDB database, there are 3 major applications are ongoing. One is the NHI Medical System, allow physicians to quickly retrieve patients' medical records from other hospitals and facilities to prevent any duplications of medication and tests, including medical imaging, health examination reports, and laboratory results. And My Health Bank service is provide service for patients to better manage their health. The third one is a pilot program. It's an AI analysis of NHI data, and with the recent initiated by NHI administration in 2019, and to release a trove of completely de-identified medical records, including CBM, MRI scans, detailed NHI clinical records, and lab test results. And from government's policies and strategy point of view, Taiwan's already put AI into one of the key topics for development of science and technology. And since the beginning of 2018, and Taiwan, most is Ministry of Science and Technology, started AI already projects in 5 aspects, as shown in the figure, including Taiwan Computing Cloud, Robot Makerspace, Moonshot Program, and Grand Challenging, and the AI Research Center. So what I'm going to talk about is focus on the introduce of the AI Research Center. There are 4 most sponsored AI research centers set up in 4 top-notch universities in Taiwan. National Taiwan University AINTU in Taipei, focusing on AI technology research and application in medical and healthcare. And AIMSMs and Pair Labs at National Tsinghua University and National Jiao Tong University recently merged with National Yang University this year, focusing on manufacturing and services, respectively. And both universities are located in Hsinchu. And the only AI center in southern Taiwan is AI BMRC, Biomedical Research Center in National Cheng Kung University, focusing not only on medical, but also biotech, including agricultural research area. As I briefly mentioned, there are 2 major parts in AINTU, covering 12 research fields, as shown in this figure. In particular, in the following few slides, I'll show what's under MHC. Okay, for MHC, or Vista Healthcare Center, there are currently 10 project teams affiliated with universities and hospitals, as shown in the logo at the bottom of this slide. The center is currently led by Professor Li Fu. He is also the co-director of AINTU. And the 4 co-PIs, including the top 2, they are from NTU Hospital. Professor Wu is currently superintendent of NTU Hospital. Professor Ho is the director of internal medicine in the hospital. Professor Lai and Professor Zhang, they are both from Graduate Institute of Bioelectronics and Bioinformatics. As I briefly mentioned, there are 10 project teams focusing on 5 research areas. I'll briefly go through each briefly. And for mental health care, Professor Fu focused on AI robot carrying human physiological and mental states. And Professor Tsai is using machine learning approach to phenotype schizophrenia and or depression using brain MRI images or gene data. Professor Liu combines AI and IoT technology for precision sleep medicine, especially for sleep apnea. As for Professor Fu's recent research progress, his group developed a system to automatically assess AD based on speech. And for Professor Tsai, they built up an AI-based web diagnostic system to phenotype the psychiatric disorders. And Sleep Power Go APP, developed by Professor Liu's group for sleep management. As for medical imaging project, Professor Zhang used the breast ultrasound images and to apply AI to analyze images for breast cancer detection. And Professor Huang applied AI onto the OCT images, it's optical images for skin cancer. And Professor Wang established a platform, AMIA, and is hopefully to implement this into clinical workflow to help doctors. And recently, Professor Zhang and Professor Huang, they both have quite experience in the tech transfer to companies. So recently, they got their transfer product got cleared by the regulatory agency like US FDA or TFDA. And Professor Wang has advanced research recently published in top journals, including pancreatic cancer research, is Pancreas Saver, and also Precision Cancer Advisors for the tumors metastasizing to brain. And for clinical decision support system, Professor Lai has combined the data from EMR, EHR, IoT device, and the environmental condition data to analyze the patient's conditions for precision medicine. And Professor Huang focused on the emergency department to improve patient risk stratification and disposition. And recently, the Professor Lai's group they developed an app to real-time monitor the patient. Also developed a system to predict the exacerbation of the chronic disease like COPD. And also they have a developed tool variant prioritizer to analyze the NGS. The data from NGS can be shortened from days or weeks into hours. And Professor Lai in this summit has a separate talk. He will provide more details. And Professor Huang's group recently, they have published a paper regarding the patient with in the hospital cardiac arrest. They can predict a 30-day readmission and 30-day mortality. As for Professor Yang, and he applied the AI and the concept about interaction building blocks and for the precision drug development platform, and hopefully to provide one-stop shop solution from biomarker screening to drug optimization. That published in the paper in the ACS Nano recently about the COVID-19 drugs. They found a potential drugs to inhibit a virus infection and can be potentially much better than the currently FDA UA approved drugs like remdesivir. Okay, the last group is Professor Lee's. He's focused on the legal system regarding constructing a legal structure, a virtual cycle in AI healthcare. And finally, our center is focused on executing a project by utilizing AI and digital technology like IoT devices and cloud positioning system. I hope to assist innovation of patient workflow in emergency department. So the project is symbolized as left logo INT Smart AD. The overview project is illustrating the right figure. You can see more details like to optimize the patient flow from arrival to discharge. So from triage, medical history analysis, instant risk identification, and to the high risk prediction for the income, and proactive warning for patients with critical illness or even medical personnel overwork prediction. With the aid of wearables, bedside display, and real-time dashboard, we hope to create a smart environment for ED care for patients as well as for medical professionals. So for those of you who are interested in knowing more about center and research projects, you're very welcome to log on our website from the QR code, and feel free to contact me through email shown on the screen. And thank you very much for your attention. Hope you all still stay safe and healthy.